Hey, Dark Friends. It was so great seeing so many of you at SpoilerCon in 2019. Now, while the planning committee is busy working on details for next year, there's one thing we'd like to announce. We're launching the art contest to design the logo and images for SpoilerCon 2020. The art can be themed to anything in Farm, including Wheel of Time, Mistborn, Broken Earth, Just Roll With It, like D&D stuff, just be your creative nerdy self. And send your submissions to spoilercon@gmail.com by January 31st, 2020. The winner gets all the glory of seeing their work represent SpoilerCon 2020, as well as a 2020 SpoilerCon t-shirt with their custom art and a deck of cards that were custom made for Watt Spoilers. For more details and the official rules, go to spoilercon.org. Think of the glory.
This is the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Your hosts are Seth Jacobson and Patrick Hyler.
Hi, I'm Seth.
And I'm Patrick. Chapter 33, A Question of Crimson. And our symbol is the threaded face, or the elephant.
I'm guessing the question of crimson is the dress and also the blood?
It could be.
Is the crimson there to cover up the blood?
The knife brushed Nynaeve's hair as it thunked into the board she was leaning against, and she flinched behind her blindfold. She wished she had a decent braid instead of locks hanging loose about her shoulders. If that blade cut even one strand... Fool woman, she thought bitterly. Fool woman. With the scarf folded over her eyes, she could just see a narrow line of light at the bottom. It seemed bright, from the darkness behind the thick folds. There had to be enough light yet, even if it was late afternoon. Surely the man would not throw when he could not see properly. The next blade struck on the other side of her head. She could feel it vibrating. She thought it almost touched her ear. She was going to kill Thom Merrilin and Valan Luca, and maybe any other man she could get her hands on sheer principle. The pears, Luca shouted, as if he were not just 30 paces from her. He must think the blindfold made her deaf as well as blind. Fumbling in the pouch at her belt, she brought out a pear and carefully balanced it atop her head. She was blind. A pure, blind fool. 2 more pears, and she gingerly extended her arms to either side, between the knives that outlined her, holding one in either hand by the stems. There was a pause. She opened her mouth to tell Thom Merrilin that if he so much as nicked her, she would chunk, chunk, chunk. The blades came so fast she would have yelped if her throat had not contracted like a fist. She held only the stem in her left hand, and the other pear trembled faintly with the knife through it, and the pear on her head leaked juice into her hair. Snatching the scarf off, she stalked toward Thom and Luca, both of them grinning like maniacs. Before she could speak one of the words boiling up in her, Luca said admiringly, "You are magnificent, Nana. Your bravery is magnificent, but you are more so." He swirled that ridiculous red silk cloak in a bow, one hand over his heart. "I shall call this Rose Among Thorns, though truly, you are more beautiful than any mere rose."
Flattery will get you everywhere with Nynaeve.
Oh, she hates him so much.
But she also, it works. She's also totally, until he screws it up.
I mean, everybody kind of likes it.
Flattery works with Nynaeve. Yeah.
Go ahead, tell me I'm pretty.
Also, look at the situation she's put her in. She is dressed up in a scantily clad dress, putting herself on display. I'm just saying, it's not in the way that Nynaeve always denies liking pretty dresses, and yet always seems to find herself in them.
So he's like, it's indecent, but I do look amazing.
Mm-hmm. And this rogue is just terrible, but kind of cute. There's definitely an attraction there. And I say that if Lan hadn't been in the picture, I'm guessing that it's possible that Luca may have wooed her a little bit. Certainly Lucille thinks so.
Oh, I mean, I think she felt threatened because Luca's super into her. I don't know. I don't feel like...
Littell, sorry.
Oh, yeah, Littell. I feel like Luca's just not her type.
Maybe not long term, but...
Although Nynaeve only has one type, so I don't know what I'm talking about.
Right.
I have one data point.
That's true. That's true.
The dress, Luca said, showing all of his teeth in a smile. You will look wonderful in... No, she snapped. But Nana, beauty and danger is a great draw. He's so unctuous. I don't like him either. Just oily. It's too much, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I get you, but it's this very upfront oiliness. Like, he's like, I'm going to be oily. You know, he tells you he's going to be oily.
Yeah.
You know, and the oiliness is almost a performance because he really is a good guy on the inside. Like, he doesn't take their money at the end. He really is just in love with Nana. Like, and yeah, he's hot. Like, he's a good looking dude and he knows it and he shows off and he wears tight shorts and short jackets to show off his butt. Like, he knows that he is good looking and he kind of uses that to get stuff.
Yeah, he's a showman.
He's the opposite of Elayne.
the male version of Elayne.
Exactly. He's a showman and he uses his looks to get money or power, in her case, just in different ways. You know, I hate to inform anyone of this if you didn't know it, but it turns out it's actually a pretty good deal to be attractive. You get better job offers, people think better things about you. It's like being attractive is very good for life.
Yeah, it's helpful. I don't know that I know anything about that, but I have heard.
As they say, yeah, no one
read an article
no
in the
paper,
knows. I think.
Yeah, not from experience. Yeah, no, it's out of jealousy I'm talking about, not experience. Definitely, that's observation, not participation.
Can you hear Julia laughing right now? Okay, she's just laughing really loud. I don't know what she's watching. She was watching Gilmore Girls last time I checked.
Actually, I enjoy Gilmore Girls. I think like anything in later seasons, it jumped the shark a little bit and got a little Flanders. They sort of Flanderized some of the characters with the dialogue.
As much as I make fun of it, when she puts it on, I end up watching. It's cute.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a feel-good show.
Yeah. No, it was, I used to watch that. My college roommate used to watch it because his girlfriend watched it and they couldn't watch it together, so they watched it at the same time and then would get on the phone and talk about it afterwards. So I ended up watching it with him a lot when the new ones would come on.
And in our next episode of Gilmore Girls spoilers, Rory drinks coffee.
Oh, God.
Like every episode. Anyway, okay, moving forward. So, Luca is trying to flatter Nynaeve and just at least get her into that dress for his show so he can make some damn money. Mm-hmm. And Thom is stroking his mustaches furiously, red in the face from the effort of not laughing.
And he's always stroking his mustaches because he's using his hand to hide his mouth.
That's what I figured,
you can't see him smiling. Yeah. And he's not joking about being blindfolded part. He's actually totally gonna throw knives at her. Which, again, a little bit of Thom's superhuman juggling and knife skills. Like, I don't think you would actually throw knives at somebody. I don't know what the distance is, but...
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there's people out there that are crazy good at it, but I wouldn't be standing in front of that thing unless it was Thom Merrilin. That's the only person I would allow. Maybe Matt. Matt, too. Yeah.
It depends. Only if I was his friend, because if I had to die. I know the knife throwing is pretty common at circuses, but I don't know how real it is, and also how far away they are. Isn't there some, like, trickery to it, or is it just, like... I honestly don't know
thought
anything.
That there'd be some kind of, like, illusion that made it, seem more real than it is, but I have no idea. The only reason he wanted her to wear that dress was so that he could ogle what she had no intention of showing to anyone but Lan. And burn him, too, for a stubborn fool, man. So many good throwaways.
She's just, I know. And this is one of those things where I think people who don't get Nynaeve and get annoyed with her just can't stand these chapters because you're just in her head. It's all this, like, wonderful little nuggets of gold of personality, and if it drives you nuts, it's going to drive you nuts. I thought this was an interesting tidbit that I've always missed before. Andoran soldiers trying to claim the Sun Throne for Morghese, Lan had been involved in fights with brigands. Wherever Moraine led him out of her sight, he apparently managed to take himself to the fighting. I totally missed the fact that he's, like, out in the field fighting brigands, just, throwing himself into the danger, because that's what Lan does.
Yeah. Kind of figure he just gets bored,
Right. He's like, well, I haven't killed anyone today, so, like Batman, right? Like,
yeah.
Batland, as we say.
Let us hunt evildoers. I always think about, when I think along these lines, there's a scene, but Moraine is doing research. So this already happened at some point. Moraine is doing research. She visits the two, reclusive, retired sisters.
Vandine and Adelius. I think that's in The Great Hunt.
Okay, yeah. And there's an old warder there that Lan is just doing exercises with.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just kind of he's a highly trained and skilled warrior who sits around in a library. Yeah. So I was like, oh, is that a bummer? Or I don't know, maybe he likes books. Maybe he paired up with the brown types because he is a brown type. He's a warrior scholar.
Well, and he's quite a bit older at this point. Don't forget, Vandine and Adelius are both hundreds of years old, and he's probably, maybe 70, right? So he's an older guy.
Yeah, so maybe
but there's a line there where she's like, Lan has been making him remember that warders are for more than just hauling books.
Gotta get Lan out of here.
Yeah, he's disrupting our warders.
Warders for carrying books.
Yeah. But he does. I mean, he saves her life when the Drakkar show up. They do that over-the-shoulder, sword-crossing, stabbing thing.
Embrace death.
So cool. Yes, embrace death. That's the one. Fucking, that's a great scene.
I think of that scene a lot because it's so powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's that warder that old warder who, he's like, thank God you pissed me off that I was out training with Lan, or else I would have been caught up in the keening.
But yeah, we hear Nynaeve kind of going over reports, and that happens in a lot of these chapters where Egwene is telling them about the situation in Cairhienin, what's happening with Rand.
Oh, and can I just say how much I love the fact that Nynaeve, when she gets pissed, breaks off a stick and starts whipping off the heads of flowers? I used to do that all the time as a kid. That was one of my favorite. You go on these walks with a stick and just whoosh, and just whip off the heads of the little dandelions. Love doing that shit. It's great.
Julia loves doing that, but she kicks them.
Yeah. Timber says hi, everybody.
There's a fun little tidbit in here where Nynaeve observes, the River Eldar lay less than a mile north, spanned by a single lofty stone bridge, built between tall metal pillars that glistened without a speck of rust. Remnants of an earlier time, certainly, perhaps even an earlier age. Just like Whitebridge, but another random remnant.
I missed that one.
And she's observing the river, and we see that the river is half as deep as it normally is. There's all this mud on the sides, and more hints that the weather isn't normal.
Yeah, we're definitely getting into extended summer, deep, hot summer into the fall.
A lot of reports in this chapter. So, Luca had spent most of the day since their arrival over in Samara, securing a place to set up his show. The Prophet was in Samara, and on the other side of the river are a ton of Whitecloaks. So this is building the riots and fights.
This is where they all try and seize the same boat, and the Prophet sends men after. Is that coming up here, where the Prophet sends men after the boat at the same time that
I want to say that's coming up
Kala
soon.
does? Yeah.
I wanted to ask a quick question about.
Feels like we're setting up for that. Yeah, go ahead.
Throwaway line where Petra was feeding the black-maned lion. Do we ever see a black-maned lion anywhere other than in the circus? Where do they come from? Are they from the Aiel Waste?
I thought the Aiel Waste, but
do they have lions there?
They definitely have lions in the Waste. I'm not sure if they're black-maned though.
Ogier says yes. Yes, DT, it's Scar, the black-maned lion. I'd like to think so, anyway.
Be prepared. Be prepared for what? Okay, so black-maned lions are just a mutation in regular lions, so anytime you have lions, you occasionally have a black-maned lion, just like with different coloration on dogs.
Oh, I didn't know that. We see a little bit more, another fun thing where Eludra is trying to push her fire sticks or strikers, the things that she hasn't named yet, matches, onto onto Nynaeve. Try these, they're awesome. And Nynaeve is scared of them.
Well, because there's matches today have I believe 2 chemicals in them. And one of those reacts to friction, and one of them actually is like I don't know exactly how matches work, but like early matches I know were would light on anything because it was just like any strike on anything, and they were extremely sensitive.
Oh yeah, they still make those, but they're
Yeah.
They're kind of a specialty thing, strike anywhere matches.
And those are much more stable. These are highly, highly unstable matches, right? They could just go off if you jostle them too hard, right? It's essentially like putting little bits of nitrous or nitroglycerin on the end of a stick.
I really like
just boom.
Here, you must try these new fire sticks. Nynaeve took the wooden box from the dark-haired woman gingerly. It was a cube she could have held easily with one hand, but she used both. Just imagine her like holding them far away from her, like, oh, thank you.
I mean, a lot of people lost fingers around fireworks when they were figuring out how they worked. Like,
and she does mention at some point, like, you know, the first box you gave me exploded, so I don't know. And she's like, no, this is a new recipe. It's gonna work.
It's better, I promise. It's like,
But hey, I mean, she does invent cannons, so I think we can trust this lady. She knows what she's doing.
No, and I love Eludra's subplot, like where we get to see her develop matches and have these ideas and go from an illuminator to, working on these matches to using them to light cannons to figuring out all that kind of stuff and doing the math on how strong the cannons have to be. And like, I love her. Like, she's just genius background character who figures out the most important technological advancement in history. And I Matt gets some credit for it, but it's really Eludra who does everything to make cannons and later guns happen.
Yeah. I always thought it was kind of interesting that she uses, like, craftsmen that make bells to make cannons.
They're the only people who can pour bronze structures of that size. They're the only people with the equipment to create a cannon.
If you just kind of bend and shape a bell, it's a lot like a cannon.
Just a thick, walled, deep bell. I wanted to ask you about, now that Elayne stopped flirting with Thom, any idea what's going on there? Why she suddenly decided now is not the time to do it? Is it just that they're around other people?
They had their moment. They talked it out.
Yeah. Okay.
And Elayne remembered who he was, and not just her sort of fascination with him that ended up with sort of misplaced flirtiness. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I also love the way Elayne turns it around on Nynaeve. Where Nynaeve's like, are you done flirting with him? She's like, I guess so. If you want to flirt with him, he's all yours. I guess.
Jeez, I didn't know you were so into it. But if you want, fine. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. And Nynaeve's like, that's not... What? No, I just... They do a lot of sniping at each other here.
Yeah.
A little back and forth, yeah.
They're an odd couple. That's how I see Elaine's fixation on Thom now, is that she was attracted to him in a sort of platonic way. She felt this like pull, and I can understand how you can like misplace that sort of
affinity for attraction.
If you're like feeling pulled towards someone, you don't quite know why, you're like, oh, maybe I'm like into it, or I don't know.
Yeah. But it's just a familiarity from her childhood, really.
Mm-hmm. Nynaeve has a black eye from her fight with Sarandon.
Oh, I like the... I'm not sure if this has come up before, but the parallel between Nynaeve and Elayne with Suan and Moraine. Nynaeve and Suan being sort of country girls, Moraine and Elayne being nobility, and how they sort of have this like contentious yet close friendship, and how they support each other and approach life from the two different sides, and how that partnership helps them get along. I kind of like that parallel.
It's kind of an interesting way to look at it.
And then I see their relationship as sort of a mirror of what those two girls would be doing if they had had a chance to go out adventuring together.
It is kind
and some
of
of the
parallel.
jinx they got into in the White Tower.
You know what I think about sometimes? I wonder if Swan ever felt sad that she never gets to sail. Like, almost never. She just lives on the land now.
She definitely regrets not... She expresses some jealousy of Moraine being able to go out and explore. And there's a couple of times when she kind of like... She's like, well, now that I'm no longer tied to the White Tower, maybe I can be, the one out in the world. And it's kind of sad that she and Gareth Bryn don't get a chance to go off into the sunset exploring the countryside. I would have liked to see that for Suan.
Yeah, Nin saying Egwene even becomes Amyrlin, like Swan, and Swan helps her into it. They're sort of similar.
There's those parallels. That is a good point, that Egwene may fit that mold a little bit better than Nynaeve. But Nynaeve certainly, at this point, is...
I mean, I think they both do, you know.
Yeah, they both fit that role a little bit. And you're right that Egwene is closer in age to Elayne, and there is probably more parallels between Egwene and Elayne.
You get a reveal in a bit, and I'm totally glazing over the fight that Nynaeve had with Sarandon. There's like 2 pages on her, like, not really wanting to explain that she got her ass kicked. Sure can talk tough, but
when you can't channel, turns out.
Yeah.
Well, and Sarandon is the Seanchan who they've been teaching to stand up for herself. And so it's just sort of, again, showing her character development as someone who was like a bit of a doormat to someone who's like, you're going to push me? I'm going to beat the crap out of you because I know hand-to-hand fighting, because I am trained by the Seanchan in hand-to-hand fighting, and Nynaeve is trained to thump people with a stick.
Right. Who don't fight back.
Who don't fight back, yeah. And then I also love the fact that, again, Littell jumps in with a stick just to beat the crap out of her, because Littell really hates her. Super jealous, because Littell wants Luca, because they end up getting married.
And we see in a bit, Nynaeve is talking to Elayne. What is that you're hiding? She reached over and pulled the blanket back, revealing the silvery length of the Adam they had gotten from Sarandon. Why under the light do you want to look at that? And if you do, why hide it? It is a filthy thing, and I cannot understand how you can touch it. But if you want to, that is entirely up to you. Don't sound so prim, Elayne told her. A slow smile broke across her face, a flush of excitement. I think I could make one. Make one? Light, why? Make an open cesspit first, a midden heap. At least there's some decent use for those. And Elayne explains, like, you're missing the point, buddy.
I can make a terangrial. Like, it doesn't really matter what kind of terangrial.
It's a terangrial. Yeah. If I can make that, what if I could make something like it?
And that definitely becomes a huge point of her skill. One of her big plot point skills is like the ability to create terangrial. Gives them the ability to create all the dream terangrial, the ability to create the copies of Matt's Foxhead medallion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just a lot of value. And then also the ability to create Quendiar, I think, is something. Although Egwene is the one who, I think, figures out how to do that. She's really good at it. I'm not sure if Elayne figures it out and shows her who figures that out first.
Is terangrial making... I'm kind of responding to Nin's comment. She said, I wonder how she discovers she can make one. Like, does she just instinctively know? And is terangrial making a capital T talent? I don't remember. But
I think so, yeah.
I remember from, like, bits from the Seanchan that if a Damane is discovered to be able to make Adam, she's like, it's celebrated. Like, it's rare.
She's the best of the best. She's like preserved and packed up, and like you spend the rest of your life making Adam. That's all you get to do. Like, that's you're not taken out to fight. You're not taken out to find mines. It's like, just pump out as many of these as we can get.
A bit like Egwene with Egwene's Earth affinity, when her Soldam trainer finds out that she can find metal in the earth and things like that. She says, like, this is you're going to get so many puddings. Like, your life is going to be so good as a Damane. Because all you're going to do is, like, we're going to take you back to Seanchan, and you're just going to, like, walk around and find, you know, gold deposits or silver deposits or steel or iron, rather, or whatever.
Iron, yeah. Just because, I mean, army and an empire needs raw materials to function.
Well, yeah, it's a super rare thing. And, I mean, if someone could do that now in the current world, that would be super valuable.
Gold, Jerry, I tell you. Gold.
Gold.
They're sitting on a gold mine. No, I mean that. Seriously, I can sense it with with the one power. And so it was also the first mention of the fact that she thinks she can make an Adam without the leash, which gives her the ability to collar Moghedien and have her walking around free with the bracelet.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
On the other hand. So that's a bit of foreshadowing there for Moghedien's capture. I don't really believe there's any need for the leash. The collar and bracelet would work as well without it, and in just the same ways.
Nodding.
We also get some information about the link, which I really like. It links two women who can channel. It's a strange link, though. Instead, two or more sharing with one guiding. It's one taking full control, really. which is sort of an interesting way of thinking about it's not just a sharing, but an actual, like, seizing of control.
Yeah. I thought that was a sort of enlightening description, too.
We've heard them talk about a forced circle and everything like that, and this is the first time that we really say it links the two women, but it's a strange link. Like, that's about as clear out as Robert Jordan says anything.
Yeah. I feel like we get some fun character building stuff as well, where Elayne kind of goes on about it, where she talks about how she always thought she would like to make things, and that was just never going to be a part of her life. And she talks about watching Carpenter make chairs for the her servants' quarters in the palace somewhere, and that she could sense how proud he felt of his good work, and she always thought that must be such a satisfying feeling, and she was always wanted to do that, but she's never had the opportunity. She would never be a craftsman, except she ends up becoming a craftswoman, I guess you would say.
Crafts-sedai?
Arts and crafts sedai?
Arts and crafts.
I don't know. It's a kind of interesting thing about her.
I feel like she does a lot of searching. You know, she kind of thinks she wants to heal for a while, and then she thinks she wants to, like... I mean, she knows she's going to be political, but she's not really into that until later. She's kind of trying to avoid the political life. She's, like, exploring, like, high walking, and she's this kind of sheltered, spoiled person who's out exploring the world and exploring her talents for the first time. And excited that she's discovering these abilities that she has.
I kind of perceive that as, you know, this woman always sort of saw her life as not having very many options. Like, she was going to be queen, and she was being raised to do this one particular thing. And that's all she would ever be, which is, although she was going to be a queen, it's limiting in a way that I never really thought about before I really thought about this conversation.
And in a lot of ways, it's double limiting, because, like, she has all the limitations of next in line and to be a queen, and all the limitations of swearing the 3 oaths and becoming Aes Sedai and being subject to the Amyrlin seat. And, like, she's all, you know, we see that in the fact that she's basically torn between the will of her mother and the will of the Amyrlin seat for, like, half the series.
Yeah.
And that's like that's a tough place to be for the rest of your life.
There's not a lot of choices that she gets to make about who she's going to be, or the kind of person, or, you know, what her interests are. They have to be appropriate interests.
Not until she runs away and joins the circus.
Right, exactly. Literally runs away and joins the circus.
Yep.
And of course, on the back end of that, Nynaeve is thinking about it, and she thinks, if she wanted a chair, she paid a carpenter. She had never wanted to make anything, aside from poultices and salves. When she was 12, her mother had stopped going through the motions of teaching her how to sew, after it became apparent that she did not care whether she sewed a straight seam, and could not be made to care. Very Nynaeve.
I have to wonder what went into the phrase, cannot be made to care, and just how stubborn Nynaeve must have had to have been to get to that point.
Well,
there's so much world building in that simple phrase.
Those Two Rivers women, man.
Be made to care. Yeah.
Tougher to pull around than a mule, as they say. Although Nynaeve accounts herself for a good cook, and I don't know that we ever really see her cook, but that sort of makes sense to me.
I don't know. I guess...
Spend all that time mixing up herbs, like, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Have some knowledge there.
I think she probably could cook fine, but doesn't ever really care to.
I don't think that ever happens. I don't think we ever see her cook a thing.
No.
Other than medicine.
Obviously, once she becomes Queen of Mount Gear, I doubt she'll be doing much cooking then.
Nynaeve's talking. She says, with you and your Adam, she went on, and nearly forgot to tell you. Julian saw Galad on the other side of the river. Blood and bloody ashes, Elayne muttered, and when Nynaeve raised her eyebrows, she added very firmly, I will not listen to a lecture on my language, Nynaeve. What are we going to do? As I see it, we can remain on this side of the river and have Whitecloaks looking us over, wondering why we left the menagerie, or we can cross the bridge and hope the Prophet doesn't spark a riot and Galad doesn't denounce us. Or we can try to buy a rowboat and flee downriver. Not very good choices. And Luca will want his 100 marks. Gold. She tried not to scowl, but that still rankled. You promised it to him, and I suppose it would not be honest to sneak away without paying him. She would have done it in a minute if there was anywhere to go. It certainly would not be, Elayne said, sounding shocked. But we do not have to worry about Galad, and, at least, not as long as we stay close to the menagerie. Galad won't go near one. He thinks putting animals in cages is cruel. He doesn't mind hunting them, or eating them, only caging them. Nynaeve shook her head. The truth was that Elayne would have found some way to delay, if only for one day, had there been any way to leave. The woman really wanted to high-walk in front of people other than the rest of the performers. And she herself was probably going to have to let Thom throw knives at her again. I'm not wearing that bloody dress, though. The first boat that comes large enough to take 4 people, she said. We're hiring it. Trade on the river can't have stopped altogether. It would help if we knew where we were going. The other woman's tone was much too gentle. We could simply head for Tyr, you know. We do not have to stay fixed to this just because you... She trailed off. But Nynaeve knew what she was going to say. Because she was stubborn. Just because she was so furious that she could not remember a simple name, that she intended to remember it and go there if it killed her. Well, none of that was true. She intended to find these Aes Sedai who might just support Rand and bring them to him, not trail into Tyr like a pitiful refugee fleeing for safety. I will remember, she said in a level tone. It ended with bar, or was it dar? Lar? Before you are tired of flaunting yourself high-walking, I will. I will not wear that dress.
Yes, you will.
I think she likes it.
Ends in dar, because it's Sally Dar. Again, the projecting on Elayne that she's going to make any excuse to keep us here another day so she can perform. Nynaeve's doing the same damn thing.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. She wants to perform. She wants to be out there. Also, my big question is, didn't they join the circus to flee Galad and get away from him? Why is he in the place where they ended up? I don't really know why, plot-wise, that's happening.
Well, there's a large encampment of Whitecloaks nearby, who I presume are there because the Prophet is there?
Okay.
Although they are moving through Whitecloak adjacent territory. So this is kind of their turf.
Got it.
So there's that too. I'm not sure exactly why they're there, but I'm guessing.
Keep the Prophet in line. It's just one of those it's funny things. It's like they fled to the circus to get away from Galad, and then all of a sudden he's like shown up in the place. I mean, admittedly, they're not moving very fast, so he could probably easily catch up with them wherever they go, but it almost feels, again, like Ta'veren twisting to just keep throwing Galad at them over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that they seem to be trying to get away from him.
Shrugging.
Okay. And then this demand for the first boat just becomes, she asks the Prophet for the first boat, she asks Galad for the first boat, and then all of a sudden there's this clash that leads to riots, and yeah, bad stuff.
Bad stuff indeed. Coming soon.
Yeah. But yeah, we've got some time in the circus coming up. That's why some people really do have a problem with the circus, is it's like, wow, there is a big chunk of this book where you're like waiting to get back to Rand, and it's just nothing but Nynaeve and circus. And you're just like, oh my god, why? It's only like 8 chapters, which in the grand scheme of Wheel of Time is nothing. But, when people complain about the circus, it's these 8 chapters. Because you're just like, it's a long stretch of Nynaeve and Elayne and the same sort of stuff over and over and over again.
I guess, fair enough. Like, there's not a lot of people being murdered left and right and all that, And when we come back to Rand and Mat, it's like the battle at Cairhienin, right?
Yep.
that's a hallmark of a good writing too. Like if a character makes a decision that upsets me so much that I put the book down and walk away, like I'm get huffy about it. That means it's like affecting me emotionally, you know, and that's what it's all about.
And that's different from a character making a decision that's so stupid and out of character that you're like, I don't even understand why this author's doing this. This is dumb. I don't want to read this anymore. Versus, oh my god, that fucking idiot. Of course they would make that dumbass decision. Do not attack Demandred with 3 fucking ter'angreal rings that will kill you. I don't know when you're bonded to the... But, like, that's such the... You know, like, it's a very different frustration than... I can't think of an example. I'm not going to point out an example of bad writing, but a character who simply does something because the plot needs them to do it.
Yeah.
And that's something that I get frustrated with in a whole different way. Yeah, Gawain's a great character. I just fucking hate him.
That's why he's great. He's well written
he's great.
because he's so hateable.
Do you want to read us into chapter 33? A discussion of dresses, of which we are fully suited for.
Ooh, don't have much fashion knowledge. I wear jeans and plaid shirts, guys. Just various combinations. This way, I don't have to think about what I wear because I don't know what I'm doing. Just buy stuff that just always kind of works in basically every situation.
Listen, what I like to do is mix up my black jeans with my black t-shirts and my black shoes.
Mix and match.
And just, like, mix and match, right?
You want to wear black,
I really like
black or, you know.
Sometimes I like to wear black, actually. I do occasionally wear blue jeans if I'm feeling really creative with my black t-shirt and black shoes.
Yeah, I literally pretty much only buy earth tones. I have some black clothes, too. I swear more black. But basically everything I have matches everything else. It's perfect.
I've given up. Yeah, totally given up trying to be fashionable. I used to be. I've got a whole closet full of, like, collared shirts that are kind of fashionable that are literally collecting dust.
Yeah,
I just don't wear them
I wear my collared plaids pretty much every day.
Yeah. Well, you're also front of house.
Unless I don't do laundry for a week and then I switch to a t-shirt. Like, oh, this is the only one that I've got left.
It's like a nice bar casual, you know, where you're like, you're not wearing a t-shirt, but...
That's why I like the collared
it's
plaid.
It's a flat flannel. Yeah.
I could be sitting in a dive and I could walk into a, like, semi-formal thing and nobody would really be like, oh, you know, that's a collar. He's a little dressed down, but whatever.
Throw a tie on that and you're good to go.
On my plaid.
and a jacket with hopefully a corduroy tan jacket with
the like elbow leather.
Yeah, patches. Totally. Yep. Maybe some shoulder pads under there.
Oh man, shoulder pads. I don't know about that. That's a little intense for me.
Oh my god, all the jackets that I got in the 80s that I had to wear as a kid all had like shoulder... I remember like being a little kid and having like shoulder pads in my jacket and being like, what the hell is this?
So weird.
Yeah. Well, I don't know why my parents were dressing me up in a suit jacket.
Although I think that vintagey stuff is cool right now, at least amongst the hipster ladies.
Yes, again, let us reference the earlier part of the conversation when we said we had no fashion sense.
Thank you for listening to the Wheel of Time Spoilers podcast. Rate us in the Apple Podcast app or
support us on Patreon. Is that good enough?